In this video, I'll be showing you what is arguably the best inventory setup for PKing. Now let's get into it. For our first inventory slot, we have our one-click teleport. Now this item is an optional item, but I tend to highly recommend it because it saved me just countless of times. Whether it be declawed at the cave entrance or sometimes, you just need to bail out. Now we have it in the top left corner because this is what we like to call a low traffic area. And what we mean by this is most of our clicks are going to be consolidated down here, whether it be our special attack, eating, or even, just switching. This is the highest traffic area because we're always switching. Now, it's up here because misclicks are unlikely to happen. As I said, we're never really clicking enough up here. And when we do, it's only going to be like once or twice when we get poisoned or we need stamina. So the chances of misclicks and just outright ending the encounter is just unlikely. Also, furthermore, this area is more of a centralized spot. If you put the royal seed pod down here, I mean, it's not horrible, not at the end of the world, but it's just further clicking range that you have to do. Next up, we have our entangle runes, our teleport sacks, and other runes you may use. So we put these in the top right because, like the royal seed pod, up here is our least trafficked area for clicking. As we said earlier, all the switches are consolidated down here, and you just never really need to click your runes, so we're just going to toss them up here out of the way, let them be. Furthermore, they also act as placeholders. Now, if we had these down here, then switching to our Armour God Sword will kind of make us have a weird sort of switcheroo right here, so it's good to just have them as placeholders. Next up, we got our stamina potion and the anti-venom pot. Now, these, depending who you ask, are optional, but I'm not personally a fan of wearing a serpentine helm, nor do I have the stats to wear a serpentine helm, so anti-venom is not optional for me. Now, the stamina pot, I don't know, I guess be conservative with your stamina, and if you want to bring more food or blighted restores, but I like to bring it, so. Now, these are potions that we don't really need to click too often, again, only when you really need your stamina, or if you need, say you get poisoned or whatever. So, you're going to be clicking these then maybe once, maybe twice in a fight, so again, we'd like to toss these in the less trafficked areas. And also because they're potions, and in the top they act as placeholders, even when they're empty. And like shown before, if these were not here, then our switches will become kind of wonky, so you're going to want those placeholders up there. And before we move on, instead of the anti-venom, which you can do, but it's going to cost you a lot more money, using blighted super restores, what you can do is use Sandfuse serums, which they kind of act as anti-venom potions, and they turn venom into a simple poison effect. Next, we'll be going over our gear switches, as well as our prayer potions and super restore potions. Now, in general, anything around the gear switches is prone to being misclicked, so because this is a high click intensive area, we take this into account and purposely put our super restores and prayer potions. So when we do inevitably go for the misclick, it's going to turn into a good thing because you're less likely to get smited. So make sure you have a healthy amount of restore to brew ratio just in case you ever. Next up, we have our gear switches. Now these are located down here because our prayers are located here, as well as our offensive prayers are located relatively close to this. As you could see, Mystic Might is essentially in the same one. This allows us to easily switch prayers while also staying on the offensive whenever needed. Now, if we were to have our switches in the top left corner, instead we would have to click all the way down here, so it turns it from just this, everything centralized here, to this. And now if we want to do offensive prayers, we gotta go all the way to the bottom. So I just really suggest that you have your switches down here. It's just more centralized throughout everything in your inventory. Now, our Saradomin brews are placed where they are because they act as placeholders. Normally when switching gear, our gear goes to the top right, which is kind of wonky, but if you have placeholders everywhere, then that is not a problem. So the main reason people have corner switching is because of this mechanic. So if we have placeholders this whole way, it really doesn't matter what happens because our switches are still going to be down here in a centralized location. Now, our double eats are located in the bottom most of our inventory because if they were located any higher, when we eat them and go for a switch, this would in turn mess up our inventory. So we kind of just toss them wherever possible, and you can exchange the summer pie. I don't have 74 agility, so that's why I use it. This is how my double elites look when I'm wearing a ballista as well as an ancient godsword. Or maybe you want to be a little more tanky and do an 8 brew setup and 5 restores. Maybe you want a 9 brew setup with Sanfu serums and an ancient godsword for outlasting. I don't know. Now your special attack weapons should be located down here for the reason that when you equip it, your special attack bar is located right next to it. Now if your special attack was located up here, as many corner switchers do, if you want to go for a spec, you're going to have to press this, move all the way down, and then click your opponent, opposed to doing this. Now if you have a secondary special attack weapon, what I like to do is space it out, because when you go into this switch, as you could see, your other items go right here. Now if these were spaced right here, when you go in for the special attack, it just has a wonky effect on our weapons that are unequipped. So I suggest putting it there. Now what I like to do is put my super combat potion right below my special attack. This is because it adds to the fluidity of your special attack. And just the movement, it's all centralized within these 3 squares. And that's efficient as can be. Lastly, our bottom potions, meaning our super restores and whatnot, they're down here because that's kind of where they just fit. If we wanted, we could get rid of the ranging potion and put another super restore down here, or vice versa, you know, get rid of the ranging potion and put an anglerfish, maybe even a brew, whatever you may want. So these are kind of out of the way. We don't have OCD or anything, so we're not like obligated to put them next to each other, and that's why these guys are down here. I hope this cleared up some questions you might have had about how you should set up your inventory. And if you want to learn how to customize your XP drops like we have them, then click over here in this video.